One of the things that gets pointed out quite often in my videos is these guys in the back. The LEGO Bionicles from 2003.
Over the past few videos, I've been gradually increasing the number of them in the background. Did none of you think that I might be building up to something? I mean, the red figure, Tahu, appeared earlier this year, and in the last video, the blue figure, Gali, appeared.
These were actually subtle hints for me getting my teeth stuck into something I've wanted to review for years, which is Bionicle, the Mask of Light.
You might not be aware of what Bionicles are, so if you're unsure, I'll give you a brief history lesson. The Bionicles were a series of toys by LEGO that used their Technic pieces, and they were basically this fantasy universe full of masks of power and good versus evil. They first came out in 2001, and there was a rebooted version recently which just got cancelled. Like literally a few days after I wrote this script. For a kid, this range was awesome and I grew up collecting these. I have loads of them now that I've bought and kept over the years, but many people agree that Bionicle was at its best towards the start of its life.
So that year, in addition to the comics and the books, they also opted for a direct-to-DVD movie with The Mask of Light.
Before we begin, I should probably give a lowdown on the lore. It's a little jargon heavy, so it's only fair that I bring you up to speed. So there's an island called Matanui, which is inhabited by villagers called Matoran and elders called Turaga, and they all adhere to 6 elements, each with their own settlements on the island. There's fire, water, air, ice, stone and earth. And to protect these villages, there are 6 heroes known as Toa who also adhere to these elements. For instance, this is the Toa of Water Tahu, and that's the Toa of Water Gali. They each have masks which have certain powers, and they use these to fight against the bad guy known as Makuta.
It's kind of simple once you get past all the jargon, so let's just get into the movie already.
The Mask of Light begins with some exposition with the voice of an old man, and this whole sequence is intensely nostalgic for me. Especially when I hear this.
Listen again to our legend of the Bionicle.
It's like I'm transported right back to my childhood. It's amazing.
The intro explains that there are 3 virtues that they kinda worship, adhere to. Not sure how to phrase that, but these 3 virtues are unity, duty, and destiny, which is represented through this symbol. And remember that because it's actually kinda important later on. The story begins at Takua, which is the village of fire, and home to the 2 protagonists of this movie, Jala and Takua. Jala is headstrong and sensible, and Takua is kind of the opposite. So they consistently play quite well off each other in this movie. It's a pretty good matchup of characterization.
And also they're kind of adorable. I mean, look at their dumpy little walks.
However, Jala's voice is really not adorable.
Takua!
It's kinda grating. In this opening scene, Jala is looking for Takua because they have a match of Koli to go to, which is like 3-way hockey with 2-man teams. However, Takua would rather channel his inner Indiana Jones, and risk his life for this rare artifact that's just there in the city, for some reason. By the way, Takua is actually nicknamed the Chronicler. Because I assume he's always in search of adventure, or a chronicle, basically. Of course, in true Indiana Jones fashion, there's a trap of sorts, and the totem gets dropped into the lava. Although, surprise, surprise, a mask rises to the top. The Mask of Light, obviously.
Never seen this language.
You see, in this universe, masks of power belong to important people, and so the quest of Takua and Jala for the rest of this movie is to find out who it belongs to. But first, Takua needs to get across this lava river. It seems like he wouldn't be able to do it right, it's a bit too far for a small guy like him. But don't worry, because he has a surfboard. Yeah, he gets saved by Toa Tahu ex machina, but I suppose it's a decent way to set up the character. So yeah, Tahu saves Takua, and Jala calls Takua a
Coley head.
Which is a weird insult. That's like calling someone hockey-faced. Although now that I think about it, that's actually a pretty good insult.
Speaking of hockey, the duo go to their match and almost turn up late. There's also this really sneaky reference that I never picked up on before.
Play well.
Overall in the match, our main duo lose quite spectacularly, mainly because Takua tries a front flip that almost murders the village elders.
Keep that move in mind. It's actually a very important plot point.
We also meet two other Toa here, but they don't seem to share much love for each other for some reason. Except the Toa of Stone Bahatu, because he's just adorable.
Nothing gets by the captain of the guard. Unless he wishes it.
Also, flirting?
Are they allowed to do that? Is that a thing in this world? I don't want to think about it.
Anyway, after the match, the Mask of Light is accidentally revealed, and Takua manages to make it look like all Jalla's fault. And so, Jalla is sent on a quest to find the 7th Toa. I mean, honestly, being put on a destiny quest by accident sounds like a nightmare, but it'd probably be a little too awkward to back out of it, so yeah, I don't envy Jalla. It's technically supposed to be Takua's quest as well, but Jalla doesn't forget that.
And Takua, the chronicler, has volunteered to join me.
Ooh, good save, buddy.
There's actually a prophecy for the 7th Toa, and the Herald of the Mask must go on a journey to find him, so that the Great Spirit, who is also the island, can be awakened, whatever that means. So Jalla and Takua go on their quest, but meanwhile, Baddie McBadguy is making some Baddie McHenchmen to do evil. Yeah, this villain is a little bit on the nose. He's just like, grr, darkness, I'm so bad and evil, look at these monsters I make. You've got to admire a villain who just revels in their evil. So what Makuta makes are called Rakshi. They're basically like worm monsters in robot costumes. And they can fly with their legs. And they make Star Wars noises.
Oh, what's that up there? Oh, that must be my disbelief. Suspended.
While searching for the mask, they attack Takoro and they completely destroy the whole place. The whole goddamn village. They sink it. I don't even know how that's possible, but the Toa couldn't do anything. Baffling. It's also worth noting that one of the Rakshi actually poisons Tahu with a cut on his mask. And as a result, he seems more melodramatic than before.
You worry about scratches. My village is gone. Your power was nothing. My power was nothing.
Whose angry child is this?
Blissfully unaware, Takua and Jalla find themselves in the jungle. Where exactly is their destination? It's kind of unclear. While in the jungle, they're attacked by a bear, or a robot bear, I suppose. Jalla tries to ride the bear because and Toa Liwa, who is the air guy, turns up to save them. And he totally isn't a Native American stereotype.
Well, I'd say you're a natural brave fire spitter. If Toa Liwa helped on your search, might he be a spirit lift?
He then flies them to the ice level. I mean, Kokoro. And then he leaves. Well, bye Liwa. We weren't with you for long, were we? A lot of this travelling seems like excuses to meet the other Toa, because then Kopaka turns up, Toa of Ice. Now, Kopaka is the token edgelord of the group. Maybe not quite Reaper levels of edgelord, but maybe about a Soldier 76 level edgelord.
I mean, if you go any further than that, then you kind of go into...
You're not even good enough to be my friend.
But to be honest, Kopaka is the coolest character, no pun intended. And I don't just think that because he was the first Bionicle I ever had. Basically, the Rakshi appear and attack the Matoran, and Kopaka completely destroys them. No, wait, no, he'll do it. Just give him a second. He's fine. Just, nobody's gonna die, it's fine, just give him a second. Yeah, you see, there he is. See, he's the best. He totally didn't take a nap, he was just, recharging some batteries so he could put in a cool attack. He's cool, don't worry about it. And then he just leaves. He doesn't say goodbye or anything, he just goes.
He just left us here.
He must see to his village.
Got an itch to scratch.
Jalla and Takua then reach a tunnel. So then Takua reads this sign,
Onokoro Highway.
but wait.
Never seen this language.
Never seen this language.
Onokoro Highway.
Never seen this language.
This is the language that they use in this world. How could he not read it before?
I mean, this is pretty important. You can't just do this to us like we're not gonna notice. We do notice these things.
But whatever, moving on. Takua becomes separated from Jalla and Makuta's all like,
Yo dude, I know I'm 2 floating red eyes in the void, but you should totally give that all-powerful mask to me.
And Takua's like, man, I don't know, this doesn't sound quite right, I'm scared, dude. And Makuta's like,
Do it.
so then Takua chickens out of his quest, even though Jala isn't actually the chosen one, and Takua is fully aware of this. He also makes Bahatu look dumb in front of everybody.
Jala, the captain of the guard of Takora, and Takua the chronicler, even now seek the seventh Toa! Chronicler, where is the herald?
Wow. Way to make him look bad, Takua.
And then some new Rakshi appear and attack Onukoro, which is the Earth Village, by the way. And the Toa try to fend off the attackers, but struggle. This also cements that it's not the mask that's important, it's Takua. And because of this attack, he realizes this and meets back up with Jala in order to continue his quest with renewed vigor. Oh yeah, and remember that cut on Tahu's face? Well, it kinda makes him evil, temporarily. So they fix it though, so don't worry. I don't really know why that plot point is important. I mean, the Toa are side characters in the orbit of Takua's story, so this whole Tahu is temporarily corrupted thing is pointless because it kinda just happens, and then it's over.
It just doesn't really serve the plot at all. Like, the problem is solved so easily, and it doesn't matter in the overall arc. It's just so weird.
Although I like that it exists because it does add this hilarious scene between Gali and Kopaka.
Kopaka, do you think that Turaga were right about us? Have we lost our unity? Kopaka?
Kopaka just leaves again. I love him. So finally, the two Matoran end up at their destination. But where is the seventh Toa? And while they don't find him, they find the Rakshi. Again, this time with all six, including the ones that were defeated before. And all six Toa then arrive to help with some pretty cool synergies in their fighting.
And fire!
Makes glass!
You know, that's actually pretty awesome.
Although again, this does make the whole have we lost our unity plotline a little bit pointless. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but they don't really go anywhere with it. Despite defeating most of the Rakshi, one of them makes it to Takua, and Jala bravely tries to fend it off, but sacrifices himself in the process of doing so. Ultimately, this culminates in the realization that the seventh Toa is not a person to be found, but a person to become. And Takua puts on the mask, and he becomes Takanuva, Toa of Light.
I am Takanuva, Toa of Light.
That power, that destiny, that ability to do great things, that was inside you all along.
You know, I like that message for a kids movie. It's kind of sweet and it's really empowering. I can get behind it.
The journey wasn't a journey to a physical place for Takua, but a mental one. After transforming, it's clear that Takua isn't quite the jokester he used to be. I mean, his friend did just die, so I can let him off there. So with all this happening, it's time for destiny, right? He has to go beat up the bad man and awaken the Great Spirit. And then they apparently build a speeder bike thing. Well, I suppose they needed an excuse to bump up the price of the Takanuva Lego set. So the big battle is on the way, and Jala's almost girlfriend is there for some reason.
It's time someone was your chronicler.
Hasn't he caused enough civilian casualties for one night? Why add another one?
Holly, summon the Matoran.
It's done.
Oh, apparently he hasn't caused enough.
So, Takanuva and Makuta face off in a Koli match.
Perhaps for your next great failure, a simple game of Koli. Win, and you may try to open the gate.
Which is really bizarre. That's like if at the end of Return of the Jedi, the Emperor was just like,
Good, good. Now show me your badminton skills.
like seriously? The final showdown is a sport? But hold on a second, let's cast our minds back to the Koli match earlier.
Keep that move in mind. It's actually a very important plot point.
Yep, he does the move. And Makuta, Well, I mean, I can only say that he got absolutely wrecked. Like, totally destroyed. Completely annihilated. It's just hilarious how fast he gets flung. But Makuta isn't done yet, and Takanuva tries to take off his mask, and they both fall into this liquid, which is energized liquid protodermis.
Hold on, let me just bring up the wiki entry.
In Bionicle lore, this stuff transforms people, and this is why the original Toa became the Toa Nuva. Basically, it made them more powerful. So what comes out of this pool is a fusion of Makuta and Takanuva called, get ready for this, Takuta Nuva. I mean, I always thought this plot point was kinda dumb, and basically this being saves everyone in that room because apparently it's starting to collapse. He also brings Jala back to life. Because hey, why not negate the sacrifice of an important character so it means nothing? So once Takuta Nuva finishes his Hodor impression, he slides the mask under the door, signifying his own sacrifice for the Great Spirit.
So, I suppose this story still has one important sacrifice.
Just kidding, it's a kids movie. He comes back to life because whatever, good guys win. And as it turns out, different characters represent the 3 virtues in this movie, and they really hit it on the nose here. It would have been nicer if it wasn't so obvious, but whatever, it's kinda cute. Harley, the Water Matoran, represents unity because she rallied everyone into certain death. Jala represents duty because he sacrificed himself into certain death. And Takua represents destiny because of his certain death. Only one thing is clear, death is certain. But hey, whatever, let's set up a prequel movie.
The city of the Great Spirit, my island home, refound. New legends awake, but old lessons must be remembered. This is the way of the Bionicle.
Mask of Light was a major part of my childhood and it's still pretty enjoyable, which I didn't expect. It's definitely not the most solid plotline ever. I mean, it's very good guys always win, but it could be a lot worse. And the animation is a little janky at times, but it's still pretty decent. Obviously there are better looking movies out there from this time, but it's not bad. And other than the animation, the visuals aren't actually that bad for a direct-to-DVD movie. As a matter of fact, some of the surrounding environments are actually quite stunning. And the soundtrack is absolutely masterful. As far as kids movies go, it has a decent message, and it shows that anybody can do great things regardless of where they come from. And I like that. I suppose the dialogue and voice acting is a little cheesy at times, but what do you expect?
So, yeah. It's alright. I mean, it has a few minor little plot details that kinda either don't need to be there or don't make sense. But overall, it's a really solid kids movie. It's enjoyable, it's fun, it has a good message to it. I like it.
Seeing that IHG had done a search for the worst on this made me think that this was going to stand the test of time really badly, but that's not actually the case at all. This is a bizarre instance in which nostalgia actually pulled through. Despite the pretty big errors in the plot, it's pretty much as enjoyable as I remember it being.
Although I do actually have one last thing to talk about. This is pretty important.
I have a theory about Puku. Puku is Takua's pet crab that accompanies him throughout the quest. And I believe that he's actually the Makuta in disguise, leading Jala and Takua into certain doom. Don't believe me? Well, let's look at the evidence. First of all, we never see Puku and Makuta in the same room. Surely, if they were different entities, we'd see them together. The strongest example of this is when Makuta talks directly to Takua, and Puku immediately turns back up when Makuta stops talking. But that's not all. There's evidence in the actual Lego set for this character. When you look at the actual set for Puku, he has the same hands as, you guessed it, another villain from this Lego universe. A villain who worked for Makuta. The third and final piece of damning evidence is pretty well hidden in the meta of the film. If you look on IMDb, it's pretty clear that Makuta is voiced by someone called Lee Tokar. But if you pan slightly to the right of that, you'll see the truth laid flat before you.
Puku is the villain. Wake up, America.
But that's just a theory. A lame theory.
And that's why I gave the Pope a copy of Bionicle Mask of Light.